It's one of the most coveted awards in the world that honors and recognizes the success and achievements of non-resident Indians across the globe. The Times Now ICICI Bank NRI of the Year Awards, powered by Global Indian International School in its 4th season, salutes the spirit of non-resident Indians from the regions of Middle East, North America, Asia Pacific and the United Kingdom. This week, we discover the stories of individuals who have achieved academic success and growth through their perseverance, grit, determination and hard work, and have been recognized as the NRIs of the Year for academic excellence from their respective regions. Hello and welcome to the Times Now ICICI Bank NRI of the Year Awards 2017, powered by Global Indian International School. I'm now in conversation with the winner of the NRI of the Year Awards for Excellence in Academics in the Asia Pacific region, Mr. Suresh Bhargav. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you, Shivangi.
So you have a very unique experience of being acquainted with a number of educational systems around the world. You're a foreign fellow with 6 academies around the world. Can you tell us, how did this journey of immense knowledge begin?
I started from a small city of this India, Meerut, where I was educated, is in there, and then my journey continues from there, then from there to Rajasthan, where I am domicile of Rajasthan, and then I went to UK. I was selected as the academic staff scholar from India, only one in chemistry at that time in 1979, and then I went to work with a very prominent scientist in England, University of Exeter, examined by the Nobel laureates over there, where my journey changed. I never wanted to do that. In fact, I was very close to be selected as IAS officer, is in here, but the destiny was different. So my destiny started from UK, and the excellence continues. From there, from UK to back to India, then to Australia, and where I am today.
Your research work is spread across a wide range of subjects. What are the focus areas and where is this research headed?
What I noticed after completing my doctorate from England with these prominent scientists and back to here, then I quickly realized that research is sometimes focused on the publications, what you publish in the top journals, and that is right. Probably that peers group see that, but your research is sometimes not visible to common person. How do you know about my research? Nothing. So then I start seeing that unless your research make an impact, the impact to the life of the peoples, the common life of the peoples, it is not going to make any difference. And that is why I become an interdisciplinary scientist. What is hidden there today? The peoples are doing research, and particularly in India, a lot of people are doing research, publishing papers, but what they are not seeing it, the missing piece of the puzzle. So what we should do nowadays, and what I am doing, I'm interlinking the different disciplines. I am linked the science and engineering together to bring the product in the market. So the people sometimes they are focused on one area, they missed out the opportunities in the different areas. So I become an interdisciplinary scientist. I translating this knowledge and quite successful. So far now I have published 400 publications in the referred journals in different areas. As somebody was telling me, I'm being cited 5 times a day somewhere in the world in there too. So that is all those sort of things, but my passion is there. How can I translate, how can I pass on this message to the mass young populations, so they can also become the innovators of the years. The innovation is the name of the games in 21st centuries. So this is a world of knowledge. This is a knowledge economy. The world is changing. If you want to become millionaires, you need a real mind which can really innovate something very interesting. You don't need a big factory in there. And the house of education, the universities, academic platforms, they are going to play a very important role.
I want to talk about the number of awards and accolades that you won for your contribution to academics. How has this shaped your career, or has this helped your career as an academician?
I think again, as the journey continues from a small town of the Meerut, and I am being flourishing in my subject areas, people are realizing those results. And then I realized that also that multidisciplinary characters and multidisciplinary approach is very good. And that approach focus on back on India's, and always I'm trying to help. I open a center in Hyderabad where about 34 PhDs are working right now with my university, RMIT. RMIT is the biggest tertiary institution in Australia, is in there, very much focused on the institution. Its vice chancellor is very special. He's very much focused on India for students' welfare, the students' development, everything. So he's my mentor. I learn a lot from him. And then what happens there too, this out of these 34 picked up from India to doing a PhD with Australia, with RMIT universities, I did a couple of things very cleverly, I will say. First of all, the gender balance. So I have about 50% women is in there. So I want to give a very equal approach to the both parties. Secondly, I also picked up the many students in there from different sections. In it with a very special needs is in there. And I'm glad to say that out of them there is at least 12 are already got a PhD from Australia. 8 are going to finish very soon in there. And all the 12s, including a woman, say girls, who has a very special need is in there too. They all are employed in different sectors of the around the world in there too. Some have gone to even to the Cardiff, some have gone to Oxford, some have gone to Germany, somebody is absorbed in Australia, somebody back to India is in there too. So they all are doing, that is my shape, that makes me very happy. So and second award, and then it was recognized in Rajasthan University when I got a honorary doctorate of science from the President of India, Pratibha Patil. She came on the convocation of University of Rajasthan. She gave me that honor, and that was a great honor to me because that was my father's place. I was the domicile of Rajasthan. Once I got it, that made me pleased. But probably the journey was not stopping there. About 2 years ago, I was also invited to receive a KIA laureate. This is known as the Nobel Prize of the Middle East. And it was awarded by the President of Iran in their President House, or the ceremony was really very, very good. A special category they told me is created for me, invention and innovations. So unless you put the love in your work, unless you put the passion in your work, you can't achieve the greatness.
Let's talk about the difference in education systems between India and other developed nations. Where do you think we're lacking?
Indian education is divided in the different categories. One is the mass education people, the colleges. You have a largest colleges in the world perhaps. And those colleges have no infrastructures. They have only books type of education. So they read the books, all those sort of things. They are graduated. There are some private colleges, there are some folky colleges, there are some real colleges. All those things continues. Doing the things differently is not enough. Doing the things differently which makes the difference. That is important. Your drugs, the thing like if your gold compounds can make a difference to cervical cancers or the prostate cancers, where a lot of patients are going there. If that make a difference, yes, you are a winner. In the education system, India has a lot to offer. What people do not realize that India is the only country in the world which has given the message of life. I want to say for tomorrow that the Takshila and Nalanda was discovered again, but of 21st century, not of the old one. I want to see that probably all the world leaders come back to India to learn over here what is the meaning of the life.
Talking about life, you won this award today for your contribution in academics. What does this achievement mean to you? What is this?
A lot. A lot, because it gives me a right platforms to talk to Shivangi, to talk to this, the Times news media, to pass on my message to the world. Change will not come from the leaders. I'm guarantee you, Shivangi, the change will come the people like you, the people like around these rooms, people like around us, the people who think about today and tomorrow. Today what I am is not because of my work, it's the work of my students, it's the work of my family who devoted a sort of lot of times, even my own staffs who look after me so well at the moments. And I would like to say probably on the stage as well, this award goes to my son, who is now, these people missing a lot. When you become a scientist, you work up to 12 o'clock in the night. And this man, this boy is just a 22 years old, is now coming as a self, the self-confident person. So probably I would like to give this award to him. This message to go to my all fellow citizens, particularly the young generations, because the future belongs to them.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Shivangi.
It's time for a short break. We'll see you on the other side. Hello and welcome to the Times Now ICICI Bank NRI of the Year Awards 2017, powered by Global Indian International School. I'm now in conversation with the winner of the NRI of the Year Awards for excellence in academics in the USA, Shinjini Kundu. I took a lot of time to memorize this and it blew my mind each time I read it out loud. You finished your high school by the time you were 16. You finished your bachelor's and your master's by the time you were 20. And by the time you were 25, you'd already done your PhD and you're about to finish your MD.
Right.
There has to be some sort of a record. Were you always a straight A student? Where did this all start?
I've always been a strong student. I had a high bar. My dad went to Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, and he was the first engineer in his family. And he came to the United States to pursue a PhD. And so academics and academic achievement, that was always something that was valued in my family. And so that's
runs in the blood.
Yeah, it runs in the blood, but it's also something that that it was there for me to sort of, aspire to and to meet the bar, and yeah.
So it's a rather flattering stereotype that Indian origin students excel in academics abroad. The studies that you've pursued in electrical and biomedical engineering, the combination is sort of unconventional, and now you're doing your PhD and your MD, which sort of combines the two. Tell me a little more about it.
My dad is a computer engineer. He's a research scientist. So when I was growing up, one of my favorite activities that I'd do with him was we'd take our computer apart and we'd put it back together. And the challenge was really putting it back together and making sure that it worked again. So that's sort of the exposure that I had to that field of engineering. And I knew that I wanted to be an engineer. So I went to college thinking that I would study just engineering. And when I was in college, I took a class on medical imaging devices and electronics. And that really blew my mind, because I began to see how engineering technology is an enabler for the diagnostics and the treatments that we have today. And I realized that I was interested in the technology, yes, but I was also interested in the application. And that was really when I decided that if technology is an enabler for the medical diagnostic and treatments that we have today, I wanted to be an enabler for the technology, but I also wanted to be on the other side and see the impact that it had on patients. So that's when I decided to do an MD and a PhD.
So let's talk about your PhD. You did something that was a breakthrough. You were recognized by the Hertz Foundation as one of the 50 most promising PhD students, and also about being a part of Pittsburgh's 40 under 40 most promising. So many recognitions.
It's really been an honor. All of it has really been an honor, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be recognized with the Hertz Foundation, be recognized as Pittsburgh's one of 40 under 40. But I really just wanted to combine engineering and medicine. So I was working in artificial intelligence, and I wanted to develop solutions in artificial intelligence that can push the sort of boundaries of what we can diagnose in the medical field through medical imaging. And I wanted to do that, and
you came up with something that was groundbreaking. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so in medical images that we have today, it's a relatively young technology still. And as medical imaging machines have been getting better, the resolution has been increasing, we're having faster scans. So we're able to see the human body at a level of detail that's unprecedented. And the challenge with this is very exciting, but the challenge with this is that there's a lot of information in the images that overwhelms the ability of the human eye to process it. So my thought is that there's more information in the images than meets the human eye, the naked eye alone, and that we can find this information and make sense of it using artificial intelligence. In a lot of problems, there are hidden changes in the images that are invisible to the naked eye that a computer can find. And it's important for a computer to find these because sometimes they can indicate the imminence of disease. sometimes it can help you predict disease years before we ever knew that we could. So that's really what I find most exciting about it, is that using artificial intelligence to sort of find this hidden information, but also what it means for potential future diagnostic and treatment and monitoring. PhD was the hardest thing I'd ever done, just because there's so much uncertainty, and you're trying to explore uncharted territory, and you're trying to create a research contribution that nobody's ever explored before, nobody's ever done before. So you don't know if it's going to work. You could be working on it for 3 months, and it could lead to nowhere, and that can be demoralizing. And at the same time, you could be working on something and have a breakthrough, and that could be really energizing. So it's just really just keep going no matter what the ups and downs are.
Talking about your research, you worked on osteoarthritis, a technology which will be able to detect its symptoms 3 years before they start showing.
Right.
So tell me, how did you come to that?
Well, I just had the thought that currently osteoarthritis in medicine is diagnosed clinically. So you come in, your knee hurts, you get a scan, it shows that your knee's damaged. You know, that's kind of the diagnostic process. But at that point, it's kind of too late. You know, your options are limited. And when the damage has already been done, when there's bone damage that's already happened, there are a few treatment options that can completely reverse that process. So my thought was that if you can diagnose it years before that bone damage and that pain develops, then maybe there's a chance that you can sort of halt the process, or maybe even slow down the trajectory, and that was the motivation for it. But in order to diagnose, you know, before symptoms, again, you need to figure out whether there is hidden information or whether there are patterns of damage that you can't see but that are still there. And that was a project where I used artificial intelligence again, and it found that there are hidden patterns of injury in the cartilage that are there years before, you know, the bone damage happens and the cartilage breaks apart and symptoms develop. And using that information, you can actually make the diagnosis with high sensitivity and specificity and accuracy. So that was just one of the...
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Apart from academics, you like dancing, you enjoy dancing. Tell me about the experience of being in the Madison Square Garden and dancing in front of so many people.
It was incredible. It was one of my favorite highlights in high school. But I think that
early on?
I did. So I'm trained in Indian classical dance. I'm trained in Bharatanatyam as well as Odissi. And I started that in elementary school. And that's something that my mom really sort of put me in dance classes, and I really latched onto it because it was fun, but it was also something that taught me discipline at an early age. Dance is challenging, and it requires a lot of stamina and a lot of practice. And that's something that helped hone my discipline and work habits, and that's something that also carried over to academics and other things in my life. So I attribute dance, my experience with dance, you know, it's a very important.
Tell me about your future. Do we see more research? Do we see more dancing, probably?
Well, there will definitely be more dancing, but so I plan to be an academic physician, so I'd like to do research, continue the research that I'm doing in using artificial intelligence to push the boundaries of diagnosis and being able to detect diseases early. But as I mentioned, I'd also like to be on the patient care side and be a physician. So I'd like to see patients and then also, you know, help patients through different ways, both through being a doctor, taking care of them, and also through the technology that enables, you know, the process to get better.
You won the NRI of the Year award for your excellence in academics in the USA. Tell me, what does the success mean to you?
To me, it's really about building bridges. So to me, my goal is to build a bridge between engineering and medicine, to push the sort of limits of diagnosis, treatment, monitoring of disease. My goal is to build a bridge between scientists in laboratories working on experiments and the patients who are meant to benefit from this technology. And finally, my goal is to, in the near future, build a bridge between the United States and India to work together across cultures and circumstances to push the coming vanguard of technological advancement in healthcare forward.
Okay, that's really very impressive and very inspirational. Thank you for talking to us, Chintan.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that brings the Times Now ICICI Bank NRI of the Year Awards 2017, powered by Global Indian International School, to a close. We'll see you next time.